Good evening, class. Thanks for joining tonight. As an American, I like to think that the government would do whatever they could to keep us informed on the possible dangers that could be in the food that we consume. I'm willing to bet, though, that most Americans would like to believe this as well. But the truth is that America as a whole, and compared to other countries in the world, they're actually very misled on the whole issue of genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, that are introduced into the sources of food that we eat daily. Now take a minute and think back to the year 1999. Now where were you in life? And what comes into your head? Maybe the first thing you think of is a simple life without any distractions, like kids screaming in your house. Maybe it's washing your first car to get it ready for a weekend of friends. Or possibly getting ready for your Friday night high school football game. Now whatever it may be, I can guarantee that in the year 1999, you probably weren't thinking about GMOs and them being in your food that you eat. Unfortunately, the American media fell short on us when it came to educating the public on this topic. However, across the Atlantic at the same time, things were much different, as the Europeans were literally revolting against the Parliament on the issue. Now, could it be that since America is misinformed on the dangers of GMOs and the issues that they cause, that we're still accepting of them into our food and haven't followed suit with other countries who have banned them completely from their systems? What I'm here to discuss is how America views the use of GMOs, but what my main goal is for you to become informed so that you make better choices as to which foods that you and your family should become consuming on a daily basis. Now today, myself and my partner William Holon are going to be discussing the issues of GMO. Now some of the main points that we're going to be talking about are Dr. David Arpad Putzai and how he was the top GMO safety researcher and actually came up with some compelling evidence about the use of GMOs. Following that, we're going to go into American knowledge and how they feel about GMOs. Finally, hitting up with the third point, William's going to be coming in and talking about worldviews, and he'll be wrapping up with a conclusion as well. So, the first point that I'd like to go over is Dr. David Arpad Putzai. Now that's kind of a hard name to say. However, this guy was the top GMO safety researcher in the UK, and he worked at the Royal Institute of Scotland. Now, back before all of this shenanigans were going on in 1999, he was given a grant by the United Kingdom to research the GMO safety process for long-time protocols on how they would affect humans. What he did was tested rats with genetically engineered potatoes so that he could cause the production of GNA lectin. Now, according to Jenny Labaugh, in 2013, she wrote an article entitled, "What are lectins and why should we care?" And this was published on the NorCal Strength and Conditioning website. And she says that GNA lectins are an anti-nutrient that are found in plants and actually help protect against pests and bugs and other things that degrade the integrity of plants. Now, unfortunately, Dr. Putzai found that the rats showed signs of precancerous cell growth, smaller brains, and also smaller livers and testicles just after 10 days. Now, he was so appalled by the evidence that he found that he actually brought this up in a hearing that was brought before the Parliament. And he was actually shunned by the government for this and testifying these results. Now, they tried to discredit him completely. However, word of this got out to the public, and they actually started a revolt against the Parliament for them trying to downgrade his findings and shun him completely. Unfortunately, as Americans, we didn't really hear about this because it wasn't reported in the media. And this is probably why we have such different views on GMOs out here. Now, according to Alex Jeva in 2012, published an article entitled Genetically Modified, not necessarily an article, but more of a report titled Genetically Modified Organisms, Risk Perceptions and Willingness to Buy GM Products. And they state that in the year 1973, the first GMO was actually produced, and it was called E. coli bacterium. Now that's crazy because if you think about it, GMOs have actually been around for more than 40 years. That's actually a long time. Now when it comes to Americans, a lot of them like to make the case for GMOs about how there's the reduced use of herbicides, the reduced use of pesticides for plants and fields and farms, and also how it cuts down on greenhouse emission from plowing and burning fossil fuels with the vehicles. And it actually enables us to modify foods for the desired nutrients that we want. And another big point that humans like to point out is that in genetically modifying foods and mass producing them, it actually helps out with feeding third world countries that aren't able to get food. Now in the year 2013, author Alison Kopicki wrote an article called Strong Support for Labeling of Modified Foods. And what she did was she found out that out of 1,052 adults, she wrote in the New York Times that 93% of them actually approved for the labeling of GMO foods. Now only half of those people were aware that GMOs were in their foods. So as I said before, Americans are actually pretty misled on how the use of GMOs is really in their foods. Now, we just spoke about Dr. Arpad Putzai and how he brought up the whole issue and made the first discovery of how GMOs are actually harmful to humans. And we also went over some American knowledge and how they feel about GMOs as well. Now, being that America is not the only country in the world, we also got to go over the world as well and how they feel about GMOs. However, the person that's introducing that topic is actually my partner, William Holon. And he's actually working with Lockheed Martin. So he'll be coming up right now. William, can you please join us?